Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today for another edition of the Simple Content Creation Tips. Now, the Simple Content Creation Tips, I created it because I kept getting questions from people saying, "Oh, DK, I want to post. I would like to interact with people online, but I don't know what to post." So I decided to come up with a series that will look at what to post, but also show you who you're creating for. So this is week two. Week one, we discussed a couple of things that had to do with understanding what content is, and we had a little task to create content for a week. We looked at a 9 grade for Instagram because we said, let's focus on one platform at a time. If we're attempting to create content on all the platforms, then we're not going to create content on any platform. So the aim was basically to get you to create content for a specific platform, and that platform was Instagram at this point in time. However, today we're going to look at something different. We're going to look at the link between your audience, your brand, and your content. And I created this link to show you that you can create content where you are. But you need to understand who you're creating for, who you are, and what you're creating. So the understanding of these three things enables you create signature content that makes you stand out and makes your brand a bit more visible. So let me know if you can hear me. As usual, we're going to have a couple of things that will make us interact. If you have a question, you start your comment with the word question, then ask your question. If you have a comment, just put the word comment and then write your comment. If it's a follow-up question based on what I'm asking, you could write question also. This will enable us interact. This will enable me make the presentation a little bit two bit more conversational, and then you're able to get the inputs that you need. And I said at the end of today we're going to have like a Q&A session. Whilst I always say in the middle of what we're doing, I'll be asking for your participation, where I'll probably just ask you to show me, give me examples of your brand, and then I'll use your brands as examples to clarify what I'm saying. So you're not just saying it from the perspective of just my brand, but we're looking at the brands of people present to create content that could be magical. So let's get started. What exactly are we looking at today? Now, the first thing we'll be looking at will be your content, as I said. And we're looking at what I've called the ABC of content, the link between your audience, your brand, and your content. Why ABC? Because I think it's as simple as ABC. It's something I've worked on for a while. But I just felt that, you know what, if people understand why they're creating, then it's easier for us to create content that people will love and people will accept. So let's get started. What are you going to see in today's presentation? I said, first thing you're going to understand is who you are as a brand. So we talked about you as an individual last week, where we mentioned that you have to show up and show your face. However, today we're going a little bit further and we're discussing who you are as a brand. Not who you assume you are, but who exactly you are, what you do, and why you exist. Then look at who you're creating for. And as we've said, you're creating for your audience. If you do not know who you're creating for, then it's impossible to create content for this person. Then we have to look at why should they come to you? What solutions do you provide that will make them want to work with you? It's important that you are creating content that will help your audience, but you need to have a unique solution that you can provide that makes them come to you. So that's in addition, that's what we're going to look at. So I've tagged this the signature content generator because we are looking at ideas of content that you can create. We looked at, so I've mentioned your audience, who you serve, your brand, what you do, that's who you are, and the content is what you create to help them. I always say that to create unique content, you have to know what to create. If you don't know what to create, you're going to be creating blindly. So we're going to understand your audience, your brand, and why you need to create content. All right, I'm starting from B. I'm not starting from A. So I said, who are you? We need to define your brand in clear terms, in very clear, positive terms. No assumptions, but you need to understand that your brand is essential. Now, when it comes to branding, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? For people, it's different. For so many people, when they think of a brand, they think about their logo, They think about, oh, if they have a website, or what colors do they represent? Oh, GT Bank is orange, this bank uses blue. So we use this outward appearances to define what a brand is. But a brand is much more than that. It's not just the colors you use, it's not just your fonts, it's not just your website. It actually is much more than that. And what we want you to do at this point in time is gain brand clarity. Now, brand clarity is important because you need to understand clearly what your brand does. So I said a brand is a collective experiences of your customers, aka users, in visual and verbal form about your products. That's a simple way to describe it. It's a collective experience of your customer. So you could make an assumption of what you want your brand to be, but your customers are seeing something different. So what is that representation that they have? What is that experience that they hold on to that makes them understand what your brand does? You need to define this clearly. And the quality of being certain or definite is what we call is the definition of clarity. So I always talk about brand clarity. And we're not going to go into too much details about this because this is a session on content creation, but it's important to understand your brand first before you start creating content. And I simply define brand clarity as crystal clear branding that is clear, simple, and uncomplicated. So there are no blurred lines. If you think of Wendy's, you know Wendy's does chicken. If you think of Starbucks, you think about coffee. They have clearly defined what they do. You need to be crystal clear about what you do. So if I ask you, what do you do? If someone comes to your page and they're wondering, they're scrolling up and down and they're like, what exactly does this person do? You want a situation where someone comes on your page is able to tell people what you do without you having to open your mouth. So without you having to explain, oh, this is who I am, this is what I do. By looking at the content you're creating, I can tell this is the audience you serve. Yolanda isn't here, but she told a story yesterday about why she got into branding, and we'll go to that in a couple of minutes. But what else do you need to do? You need to understand your brand story. So I spoke about someone yesterday. I saw a post she wrote, and she talked about being a doctor and the fact that she is into financial management now as a doctor because she realized that her expenses were a lot, even if she had the resources. But if she continued going the way she was going, then she will not be able to afford the life she would like her children to live. This led her to creating a brand that focuses on financial management. Now, that's a brand story. That is why she exists. If I want to learn financial management because of the story she has told, I'll be interested in working with her. So, what's your brand story? Why do you exist? Why did you get started? 822, why did you get started? You need to give your audience a reason to care. You need to build an emotional connection that makes people know, like, and trust you. You don't just want to say, I sell goods, you must buy from me. No, there is a reason people connect with certain people. People connected with, although we look at politics, in Nigeria politics, people connected with Goodluck Jonathan because he talked about how he grew up and the fact that he couldn't afford certain things. So they understood that he was a man of the people. Did he maintain that same story throughout? Not necessarily, but at the time he needed people's support, he got the support he needed because people could connect with his story. So, what's your reason for doing what you do? If you could share, if you know your brand story, like I said earlier on, if you have a question, you write question in the comment section and ask your question. If you have a comment, just write comment and then put your comment. But now my question for you is this: do you know your why? Do you know why your brand exists? Do you know what you want to do? How are you going to build that emotional connection that makes people know, like, and trust you? And how do you incorporate this into your brand message or brand, whatever you are creating? Remember, we're talking about the ABC of content creation: the audience, your brand, and your content. So we're starting with the brand because the brand exists to serve the audience. So even if I call it ABC, we started with branding. In addition to brand story, what else do you need to understand? You need to understand your why. Like I said, people do not buy what you sell, they buy why you sell it. So why are you selling what you sell? Most of the time, most of us go into business because we want to make profits. or we see a need in the market and we want to meet that need. For example, someone that does plus size dresses said she was looking for plus size dresses because she couldn't find any when she had an appointment. She had to go for a wedding. So she decided to create dresses for plus size women. That's the why. So other plus size women will identify with her story and buy from her. Do you know why your brand exists? Do you know your story? If you don't know, think back about why you started. If you remember why you started, it's a lot easier for you to connect emotionally with the audience that you intend to use. Your audience could be a charity, it could be anything. But if you understand why, there's this authentic connection that no one can take from you. And that brings us to the next thing, which is your brand message. Now, you've connected with people, but you want them to understand what you're saying. You have a message that you're trying to pass across. What is this message and how do you communicate the message to people? Now, it has to do with the underlying values and value proposition that you want to convey and the language you use to convey your message. It has to do with your brand voice and your brand tone, and we'll talk about the difference between both. But essentially, what you need to do is define your brand message, focus on the desired brand positioning. It has to be relevant to not just to you, but to your audience. And there's something that we do that we are guilty of, so many of us are guilty of it. We overpromise and we under-deliver. But do the other thing instead. Under-promise and over-deliver. Do not overpromise and tell people, I will do this. I don't tell people I'll get to 1,000 followers in 3 days because it's not possible. That's me overpromising. But I understand my message is to tell people to be consistent, to be diligent, and to simplify their message. So whatever I'm communicating with people, with my audience, will reflect this. I do not promise overnight success. I do not promise six figures. What I promise is, my brand promise is that you will have clarity, you will simplify content creation, and you will be able to connect with your audience. So I am consistent in communicating that message, and this is incorporated into the every single thing that I post. When you understand your brand message, you have to communicate it in everything you post. You don't just have a brand message, put it on your website, and then go back to bed. No, you have to ensure that your brand message is in every single thing that you do and everything that you post. Okay, so now what are your values as a brand? What do you stand for? Do you have core values? All these things will help you create content that you need to create. The core values that you set could be chosen from the words. What I did for my core values is I knew it was going to dictate my brand message, look, and personality. So I picked adjectives that describe the way I would like my company to come across rather than my internal process. So I wanted people to be authentic. I wanted people to simplify the way they get things done, but to still put in the work. I wanted people to be consistent, to see that in my brand message. So when I was communicating and choosing the words I wanted to my brand to reflect, that's exactly what I did. So you need to ask yourself, how do you want people to feel when they come to your brand? Let's take Apple for instance. I use Apple products. With Apple products, they want you to feel like you have a unique product in your hands. So there's this feel with the values that they have. They're authentic. Their products are elegant. They have this regal feel to it. That's the value you get. You're getting value for money. So they do not compromise on quality. That's what Apple does. So what is your brand message? You need to pick adjectives that describe the way you want your company to come across to people. This fan is really blowing. All right. Now we're going to talk a little bit about your brand tone and your brand voice. Please let me know if you have any questions to anything so that we can pause and answer the questions. Now with your brand voice and your brand tone, your brand voice is simply this. It's the way you talk and the way you do not talk. A good brand is Wendy's. Wendy's in the US, they are very shady, they are very quirky. You see a Wendy's tweet, you can roast people. That is their brand voice and it works for them. Um, there are some brands that say, oh, we cater to everybody, we are very loving. That is their voice, that is the way they speak. The tone is different. The tone is the way you sound. What is your brand tone? Are you formal or are you informal? And your tone changes based on the circumstance. If you are consoling someone or during a tragic period like what happened last week, Your brand tone will be different, but your brand voice will be the same. And I'll give you an example of a few brands that use brand tone and brand voice very well. And that example is about Shopify and MailChimp. Now, with Shopify, most people that have websites and sell goods use Shopify, so then you will know about it. Or you use, if you have a mailing list, most likely you started on MailChimp before you moved elsewhere, because I'm moving to MailerLite now. So with Shopify, their brand voice is very confident, not arrogant, empathetic, not overprotective, transparent, not blunt. That is the voice that they use. I am, but with their tone is positive. It encourages and offers a next step, expresses gratitude and happiness. It's in neutral situations, their tone is very, very specific. They want to provide a solution for you. In negative situation, if you're trying to do something with your cat and something happens, they are clear about the problem and they try their best to fix it. That is their brand tone. So the tone is dependent on the situation. They have a tone for positive situations and negative situations. You need to create this for your brand. For example, they will use something like, "Oh, you're all set up. It's good. It's a good time to plan your Black Friday sale." Those are positive things. Mailchimp, on the other hand, is plain spoken and genuine. They have dry humor. They are informal but make things very entertaining, and they are very positive. So they will have different interests and different ways that they speak. They have dry humor. They could use jokes. If you have you ever used Mailchimp, when you send your email, they will say "good to go" or "I5." That's very informal. You don't expect that from a company. But when you see it with Mailchimp, then you know this is how they sound. So what I want you to do now is I would like you to look at your brand voice. How do you want your brand voice? Let's have a conversation. How do you want your brand voice to be? What do you want your tone to be? What do you want your interest to be? And then you give us an example. And I will start with me. My brand voice is different from me. My brand voice is not, it's confident, but it's very, very, very encouraging. Hi Tolu. My brand voice is confident but very, very encouraging. It's empathetic. I'm kind of overprotective, but I am very, very understanding. I am not blunt at all. So it's more like Shopify. I'm not aggressive. So I know what I am, I know what I am not. There are some brands that you go, there are some online coaches that are very, very aggressive. They tell you, if you're sitting down on the seat, you're very lazy, you need to stand up, you need to do this. They are very, 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 very protective and overprotective. But you need to know what your own brand voice is. Mine isn't like that. Mine is very reassuring. That's my brand voice. What is so, Emma? Do you understand how your brand voice will be if you're writing for someone? And this will be reflected in the way you write your captions. So your caption could be, if somebody asks a question, you'll be very reassuring. If someone needs clarity, you're very reassuring. You're not like, "Oh, you shouldn't, by now you should be making six figures. Why aren't you making six figures?" It's because you're lazy or you don't know what to do. Rather, your tone is very encouraging, very, very, or rather, that's my tone is very encouraging. I'm putting people in a place where they are comfortable enough to ask me questions. Both tones work and both voices work, but every brand cannot have the same voice. You need to understand your brand voice and understand your brand tone, because this enables you create content that your audience will know, like, and love. That's what you're trying to do. Now, when it comes to creating content, like I said, your brand voice is constant, it doesn't change. Your tone changes based on the circumstance, and then it depends on your interest, and you will give an example. So if someone says, "Oh, I downloaded a calendar, but my Canva, but I did not know how to place my logo," rather than saying that's a simple thing, Google it, I would rather be reassuring. I say, "Okay, let's give it a try again. Could you refresh your system or do something?" That would be an example. "Oh, you've done a great job by even signing up for Canva in the first place. All right, let's take it a step further. Did you choose the right template?" So I'm guiding the person to make the right decision. A different person, coach, will have a different voice. So in your captions, you have to understand that you have to sound the same way all the time. Hi, Vivian. Welcome. Okay, now what you do. So we've talked about your brand, understanding the branding basics. That's not all about branding, but I just felt you needed to understand those few things. Now, the products you sell or your services, I've called this your plug. So when you are creating your content, you have to plug in something, you have to sell something, you have to hype yourself in a way. So most of the time, I'm guilty of not hyping myself. I'm learning to hype myself more and put myself out there and plug my products. So these posts are what I call your plugs. They could be also referred to as your promotional post. What do you want to plug? Do you know what you do? Do you know what you sell? Do you know the services you render? So let's go through the comments and see what you plug. What services do you render or what products do you sell? I will tell you what I do. So as a brand strategist, I do social media consultation. I do brand clarity sessions. I offer consultation calls. I have a podcast. I have a YouTube channel now. Yes, I have a Facebook live show, and then I have social media creation with a virtual assistant, and I have a Facebook group. These are the services I offer. You need to list all the services you're offering, and then you plug it into your content calendar. You plug it into what you're going to post. So, okay, let's go to the comments. Does anybody want to give an example of the services that they offer so we can see how we can plug it into your calendar for you? And okay, not to worry, these slides will be available for you to download. I will give a link to the mailing list where you can simply download it. You just give then you'll be able to download it and fill the form by yourself, because it's a workbook and a presentation two in one. So Emma is a storyteller. Since she doesn't want to talk, I will talk about that. Emma is a storyteller. She has an accountability group called the Yellow Pepper Club. So that's the service that she offers, Yellow Pepper Club. She's a copywriter. She does web design. She does content creation for people and email marketing. Those are services that she offers. Everybody offers different services. Vivian is a virtual assistant. She does content creation. She does blogging, and she does a couple of other things. Those are the services she offers. Now, the tendency of us. Yes, so Emma said she's a digital marketing consultant and the founder of Yellow Pepper Club. So when Emma is talking about her services, she will not just focus on digital marketing alone. She will focus on everything that she does. So what I did here is this. I said, okay, your promotional things, what you offer, the goods and services you provide, your offers and sales. If she has any offer or any sale, she's going to put it down on paper. On this other side, what you offer, you're going to write exactly what you do. If you have any freebie you want people to download, you do it. Emma is also an author of 2 books, so she will write her 2 books inside her own what you offer. Then anytime you have a blog post, a podcast episode, or you want to build your mailing list, it's something you offer, you need to write it down. This will all go into the content that you create. If you have a course, if you have a Facebook group, if you have a membership website like Yellow Pepper Club, if you are in the media for anything, like Emma has appeared on a show where she was interviewed, Story Before Glory. If you are in the media or anything, if they've done any PR for you, you write it down. If you're doing any challenges like the sprint that we did, yes, it's part of Yellow Pepper Club, but it's a specific service. So you're not just saying, I do this business, but the specific services that you offer need to go into what you offer. Those are part of the promotional plugs that you are going to put on your post. And we're going to talk about that this week. Content on social media. So she says, oh, I have a new post up. She put it in her stories. Go and read my new post. If she has any events or workshop, conferences, or retreats, she writes that down. If she volunteers anywhere, she writes that down. Now you've realized that by writing it down this way, you have more content to promote. So you're not promoting the same thing all the time and overflogging it, but you're being specific about what you do. Do not make it vague. Make it as specific as you can. Be very, very specific about your plugs. Hello, Timei. Be very specific about your plugs. Do not make me assume that you do something when you don't do it. Do not make me assume that you don't offer a service when you offer that service. Some people may want to come to you, but they don't know what you offer. Okay, Tolu is a personal growth coach and a podcaster. So Tolu is a podcaster. She will promote her podcast. As a personal growth coach, she talks about positive affirmations, your mindset. So if she has a mindset session she holds, she will talk about mindset. If she has a template that she wants you to download, that's a promotional plug that she needs to plug in. I usually just used to call them promotional plugs, but I'm calling them your plug right now. And what you are hyping, you need to hype yourself. Even if I said don't over promote, because that's one thing I said. We are not creating a catalog with our Instagram page. We are rather creating a magazine. A magazine has different interesting articles. If I read an article and I like what they've said, I can put my own spin to it and say, oh, I read this article, put it up there, tag the person that wrote the post, and put my own spin to it. That's a promotional post for me, but it's also connecting me to someone else that might find what I have done interesting. So now this, from just saying what Tolu does, we are able to get content that Tolu can produce. Oh, I have positive affirmations that you can download. She can write about that. Be specific. Do not leave anything to the imagination. When I talked about brand clarity, I said it's specific, it's written, it's not implied. So when you get this folder, you're going to write down every single thing you offer now and what you want to offer in the future. So you can say, oh, this is what I offer now, but I'm looking to promote it to this. Right now, I am not doing one-on-one sessions. If Tolu does one-on-one, I'm a personal growth coach. How do I do it? Do I do group sessions or one-on-one sessions? So your group sessions will be written if you do group sessions. Your one-on-one sessions will be written if you do one-on-one sessions. All right, so just to summarize what we've talked about briefly, we've said why the brand exists, that's your brand stories. What you offer is your products and services, that is what you offer. Your unique selling points or distribution channel. Now, this is a topic on its own that if we go in depth into it, we will be spending hours here. But this is what I want you to know. Find what makes you unique. What makes you different? Why should people come to you? Your strategy is why they come to you. People come to me for my clarity sessions and my strategy calls because I listen to them and I give them the ability to express themselves without looking down on them. Like someone said in the feedback she gave, she said, I'm unassuming that I make them realize that content is in them. So that is what makes me different from others. So rather than telling them this is what you must do, I show them that what they need to do is already in them and I unlock creativity. So when I'm talking about how I do what I do, that's my selling point. So you need to find out, and we're going to have a conversation on this, your unique selling points in the office hours this week. What is your unique selling point? That's a very massive topic. But before we go to your target audience, do we have any questions? Okay, so before we go to target audience, this is what I want you to do as a brand. I want you to listen to people. I want you to listen to people. Listen to understand. Don't listen to respond. It takes courage to be able to listen to what somebody is saying, and it takes confidence to respond without being defensive. So many times, okay, Emmy, I'll answer your question in a bit. So it's so many times we want, when someone puts a question or puts something in our comments, we want to clap back immediately. We want to respond and show that we are strong. But sometimes listen to the message and not the messenger. Do not shoot the messenger, because the messenger may have something that you need to learn. If there's something to take from it, take it from it. If there's nothing to take from it, just listen to them and do not respond defensively. Be sincere in your approach. It takes sincerity for you to communicate with your audience. Do not be do not assume that I can be dishonest with them a little bit or tell the white lie. Sincerity shows that you are putting that person first. As a brand, in your comments, in whatever you're doing, be sincere, have integrity, be distinct. Do not do it just because every other person is doing it. do what is right. If every other person is selling, oh, I will give you 1,000 followers, I cannot go and tell my friend, my clients that I will give you 1,000 followers. I'm not being sincere. You have to be sincere, you have to be distinct. What makes me different from other content creators? It's my style, it's my approach, and it's who I am. Now, Emma asked the question, do you apply different branding to you as a person and another branding to your product? Okay, so it's what we refer to as a personal brand. Some people have personal brands, and their personal brands reflect their products. So Kim Kardashian has a personal brand. She has a personal brand that is Regal. She has rebranded herself so many times that now she has been accepted by Vogue and other people. But she has KKW, which is a product that she has. Rihanna has a personal brand and she has Fenty. So the way she brands Rihanna will be different from the way she brands Fenty. But you can see a bit of Rihanna's personality in Fenty Beauty. That's what you have to do. You have to realize that yes, people may, when you are a celebrity or you've achieved a certain status, people will buy a product because of you. They want to have a feel of you. So once you've created a personal brand, you have that connection with people. You build that tribe of people that just want everything that you have touched. So it's difficult sometimes. The line between you and your products could be blurred, but you could make them distinct. Because if I am putting out products that I use, planners that I use, I will brand that planner as a product, but it will have a bit of my personality, but I would like the planner to outgrow me. So the disadvantage of branding a brand basically as you alone, it may you may outgrow that stage of your life, because you have some YouTubers that started off as pranksters but are now business people. If they are planted, if they are like Philip DeFranco now, he had to rebrand. His new brand is news. It's very, very serious and it's very entertaining. His old brand was prankish. If he had branded his old company as that prankster, it would have been difficult for him to transition. So yes, you can, but always remember that you want your brand to outlive you. If you just want to brand for it, and we grow, we change, life influences us in different ways. Initially, I wanted to do political science. If I had branded myself as a political scientist or international relations expert, now that I'm doing branding and I have a branding company, will I still be doing the same thing? You have to understand that everyone is different and we outgrow certain stages of our lives. However, we influence the brand, and that influence can be felt in the way the brand will be represented. Did I answer your question, Emma? Okay, so um this next few pages are just for you to answer the questions that I have, to write down what we've discussed before. Your brand message, your brand values, how you intend to sell. Are you selling a physical product on a website? Do you want to sell with your YouTube channel? Do you want to sell via your podcast? Whichever way you intend to sell, write it. How do you want your brand voice to be? Do you want your brand voice to be formal, to be caring, to be informal? What do you want your tone to be? You need to write all these things down, because when you write these things down and hand it over to your virtual assistant, for example, they then write in that tone and in that voice, and that's how they'll be representing the brand, not you. So think about it. Say, how do I want this brand to sound, not how do I sound. You're looking at it from the brand's perspective, not just from your perspective. And I'll pause here for a few seconds to see if I've been able to answer the question, because now we are going to audience. Any questions regarding the brand before we move to audience? I know I'm a few seconds ahead of you, so I will wait a bit. But basically, your brand is your brand should not necessarily be about you. It should be about your audience, not just you. And let me see. Okay. I think I've got a question on WhatsApp. Bear with me a second. Okay, Vivian said no question thus far. Awesome. So we can move over to audience. Now, like I said, there's a download for this available for you. I will send the link to you now so you can download it, and I'll post it in the comment section where I'll post it in the comment section after the live, so you can. I don't want anybody to be distracted and flipping through the pages. That's why I didn't give it to you early. So you just simply sign up and then get it. All right, let's move over to your audience now. Who are you creating for? You are not creating for anybody, everybody. You are creating for specific people, and you need to define who they are. You are not making assumptions of who they are and what they do and what they spend their money on. You have audience clarity. I like using the word clarity. I talk about audience clarity, content clarity, brand clarity. You need to have clarity. You need to be crystal clear about who you are serving. If you're not clear about them, then you're in trouble. And this is the truth. You cannot be all things to all people. And you must, exactly, your brand should not be about you, but about your audience. Perfect, Vivian. You cannot be all things to all people. And you must narrow your target market down to your ideal customer. So we're going to create an ideal customer avatar, and then we will talk about it. And if you know your client or customer avatar, why don't you share it with us also? If I get to any of the points, then you can share your ideal customer avatar. And it's just a couple of pages like this that you're going to have to fill later. Do you want to have access to these now? Okay, let's vote, since I'm always very, very interactive. Do you want to have access to this now as I'm working with you so you can feel it? Or do you want to wait till I finish and then you have access to it? Which of these two would you rather have? So if you let me know, then I will just send it to Emma. She will then put it in the group, in the chat. Okay, so I'll just give you guys a minute to decide, then we will go to your audience. Because you have to be specific about who they are. If not, you're going to be creating for everybody. And the truth is, the reason we say target audience, why you have to hit that target, is if you are creating for, if you're trying to reach, if you're trying to hit 10 targets at the same time, you're going to miss all. But if you try and hit one target, there's a better chance of you meeting that goal. So let's talk about your target audience. Okay, so do you want the slides before I end, or will you wait till the end of the session? Okay, Amaka says she's okay with filling later. Perfect. All right, we have one person says I'm okay with filling later. Another person says I let's fill now. So let's decide, which will you rather have? I can wait. Tolu says I can wait. So we have two people waiting, and we have this. I'll send the link to Emma all the same. It's fine. So whichever one you want, you can just fill it. So it's, you have two options. One option gives you the opportunity to download the template on Canva and fill it on Canva. The other option gives you a PDF file that you can just print out and use. So I think Emma, I've sent you the link earlier. That link I sent to you earlier, please can you help me post it there? Well, I'm sending it to you again, and I'm sending it to you, Amaka, also, just in case Emma is not there, so that you can help me post it in the chat and in the distance. All right, perfect. So let's look at your audience now. I'm sure you're wondering, why is the first thing a personal name and job title? Well, I always say it's name the person that you're speaking to, so that you are speaking to an individual. You know that this is somebody I'm speaking to. I'm not just speaking to the whole world. So that's why we always say name your avatar. Name the person you want to speak to. So I'll call my own person. I call her Tracy. She is what I refer to as a DIY entrepreneur. That's what I refer to her as. Our hobbies and interests, you have to know what they like doing. Is she someone that likes shopping? Is she someone that is interested in doing courses? Is she adventurous? You need to write all these things down. You're not making assumptions, you're writing it down. Values, what does she value? Someone that values integrity. Does she want a quick win? Is she willing to buy followers? What are the things she's willing to do? I have to understand this. Her demographic information, I need to understand her age, gender, because mine is a female, income level, level of education, and location. Common concepts that prevent them from converting. So what will prevent Tracy from coming to me? She may have been hurt by other people that she has paid to help her run her website, and she's not interested in people like that do what I do. What your audience expects from your service? Okay, what do they expect me to do? She expects me to help her gain, start making money from her Instagram page or from her social media profile. That's what she expects from me. Her favorite blogs, news sources, and social media platform. She's always on the Shade Room. She reads Essence magazine. She will rather do CNN than Fox. So I am defining her in specific terms. What social media platform will she be on? She's an Instagram girl and a LinkedIn girl, but mostly Instagram. Um, TikTok, she tries TikTok here and there, but she spends 70% of her time on Instagram. So now I've said her favorite news sources. She's an Instagram person. I've chosen the platform she is on. Now, why do I choose the platform she is on? You choose the platform she is on so that you know where to find her. How would your target audience describe herself? So I described her as a DIY entrepreneur. That's not what she would describe herself as. She would describe herself as an entrepreneur that is trying to, or a solopreneur that is trying to gain visibility for her book or for whatever she's doing. She would describe herself as an author. She would describe herself as a creative individual. So the way I describe her is different from the way she would, maybe different from the way she would describe herself. What are her goals and aspirations? She wants to own a business. She wants to employ people. What are the pains and challenges? And I would say her pain point is that she's always thinking about what to post. She knows that she has what it takes, but she does not know what to post. If I use a client of mine, oh, she does natural hair. She knows that, oh, she wants to sell her product, but she doesn't know what she wants to post. She wants people to love their hair. She wants to create a YouTube channel that will teach girls to love their hair from an early age. Her challenge is she doesn't know how to use her camera. She doesn't know how to use Canva. She doesn't know how to create graphics. She has the ideas, but she cannot write it, or she doesn't have the time. So now she has a problem. I will then fill that problem for her. I will fix that problem for her. So what I want you to do in this place is insert your brand. So what I will say is DK Jonah creates content to help and inform DIY entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs so that they can create content better. So I want you to everybody to do this part for themselves now. So Emma, what will you say you do? Emma creates content to help and inform who so that they can do what's better. Because this statement, if you have this your content statement, it helps you create better content in the future. If I know that Natural Nyota creates content to help and inform black women so that they can take care of their hair better, that's Natural Nyota. If I look at Tolu, Tolu can say that Tolu is Tad creates content to help and inform women. She'll be specific about the women so that they can live a better life or they can have work-life balance. So you can insert yourself into this, and all this information that you've provided before will lead to the content that you will create. So now what you're trying to do is you're not trying to please everyone. So instead of working hard to prove the skeptics wrong, it makes a lot more sense to delight the true believers, those people that you believe in. It makes a lot of sense to delight them. They deserve it after all, and they are the ones that are going to spread the word for you. This was said by Seth Godin, because if you have defined your audience clearly, then you can create content that will suit them, because they are the ones that will go ahead and tell other people about you. So we've talked about your audience, your brand. Now we're looking at the content that you've created. But you'll be surprised to know that we've already created some content earlier when we talked about your plug. Now your plug is your promotional content. So if you've written that down, the exact services that you provide, you have your plug already. That's one part of your content. But what else can you create? Well, That's the task we're going to do now. So when it comes to creating content, we talked about solving the pain points of your audience. So we looked at the fact that you are there to help your people to understand certain things better. You are there to make life easier for them. How do you make life easier for these people? How do you do that? It's about the content that you create. So you're going to identify 4 problems that your audience have and 4 solutions. I've done an example on the right to make you see how easy it is. So if you tell me your clients and the problems they have, we can create content now for them that you will post this week. So my clients are thinking about what to post on Instagram. So I say, okay, what can they post? Well, how will I solve this problem? I can solve this problem by making them understand that the content is not about them, but it's about their audience. Now, I've told them your content is not about you, it's about your audience. So I need to tell them the first content I will create will be, how do I identify my audience? That's solution one. Okay, I've identified my audience. What else will I do? Okay, what do they need and desire? That's solution two that I have provided. After that, okay, now I have created this content. The next the person my audience has, so Tracy has created this content. And next question is, how do I get people to engage with the content I have created? How do I get people to see what I have created? So I'll be talking about visibility. That's the solution three. And then, okay, I've created content, but how do I create content that people can share? That's solution four. So I've provided 4 solutions to one problem, and you can do that. Apart from solutions, you can answer questions that they will have. So it's about creating content that will provide solutions for them or answer questions that they could have about the content that they are creating. And that brings us to the end of today's session, where we look at the task that you are going to do. So I just call this your plug generator. What I want you to do is think of problems for your audience and questions that they may have in this place. Brainstorm, write the problems that your audience will be facing and what kind of questions will they ask. So you're looking at problems and questions. Having done that, you write the solutions to these problems that they will have, and then you answer the questions that they've given you. And I have a little plan for you that could help you with your content creation for the week. So let me make this 50% so that we can all see it. All right, so this is more visible. Perfect. So this is the plan for this week, and I added something to it. So I said you have to plug a product or service that you do. So that's your promotional post. It's what we call your plug. So Timeyu, our promotional posts are now called plugs now. So plug your product and tell people what you do. Solve a problem based on the problems that you have assumed your people will ask. Ask a question that you ask them to ask a question. Ask them a question to say, oh, what are you struggling with at this point in time? So you have to ask a question. The way to get to know your clients is by your audience is by asking them questions. Ask a question so that you'll be able to provide an answer next week or later on based on the question that you've asked. Share a success story. Tell a story. Make it a bit more interactive, make it interesting. Share a success story or share your story of why you got started. I'm sure people are wondering why I got into what I do, and there's a story that I intend to share this week. Okay, you can share a quote. Share a quote that will reflect your position and make people know what you do. You can also show your work process. I want everybody to show their face this week. Let's all show our faces this week. Let's stop hiding behind the camera and just using beautiful graphics. So you have an opportunity to show your face. You can plug a product or a service that you do again. So now what you're doing is within this 9 posts, if you decide to make it 9 posts, you are plugging your product 3 times. You are providing a solution and a question. You are sharing a success story. You are sharing a quote that will make people see you as an authority. So you're not just going to share a random quote. Think carefully. For Tolu, you can share an affirmation. Share something positive as your quote. Share your work process. Oh, this is what I do. I shared my work process this week about how I create content. I can show you my desk. I can show you the books that I work with. But just share something about your work process. To share your work process, you could just have a picture of a laptop and say, oh, I work from a laptop, not a desktop, or I work mostly on my phone. I love typing on my phone. I type everything on my notes, or I think on paper. So I'm not saying give us the secret to your business, but just show us how you get things done. I think on paper first, then I transfer to my computer. I don't like doing anything on my notes apart from my phone, apart from Instagram. So many people use the notes feature on their phone. So if you use the notes feature on your phone, share that. Then I talked about trends, and I said, okay, there are two trends. So when it's national holiday or international days, we should celebrate it and put a post about it. So there is International Left-Handers Day. I'm not left-handed, but I like left-handed people. So you could take that trend and create a post about it, and that is on the 13th of August. If you are left-handed, show oh you can talk about your struggles and why you like being left-handed. In the African community, left-handed people are not really encouraged to use their left-handed. If you were left-handed and you became right-handed because of pressure, share it. But that's just something fun that we can share about. International Youth Day. If your brand is about empowerment, about women, about teens, you can share something about International Youth Day, because International Youth Day is important. It's celebrating the youth and the future leaders of tomorrow. So share something on International Youth Day. So those are two trends that you can incorporate into your plan for the week. We're using the hashtag SCC tips this week, simple content creation tips. And the reason I do not use 9 grid again is you must not post all 9. This is just an example of what you can post. You can post them in any order. You don't need to follow this specific one. Post them in any order that you want. But it's a good mix of content that you can create this week. So that's another task for the week. And it's something that you can easily do. Solve a problem for your industry. Ask a question that people need to do. What do you think about affirmations? Why do you think people struggle with depression? Why? Those are questions that you could ask that will start a conversation. Start a conversation with your audience. And I said, okay, if you're creating signature content, this is what I want you to do. I want you to plan in advance. I want you to plug, promote, or hype your products or services. I want you to create with your audience in mind, not you in mind. Have a consistent brand voice, tone, and message. And if you go back to what I have talked about today, you will see the difference between your voice, your tone, and your message. Answer questions your audience are asking and share industry related news. These are simple tips and simple things that you can do now. So now I have a question for you. So this is where I will call it a day. What's your biggest challenge? So Tolu, you're taking over my page on the 12th. Vivian, since you're left-handed, come and share something on my page about being left-handed that day. I will give you my page. And that's another thing. We can also share on each other's pages. I will discuss that next week. But yes, thumbs up for the left-handed person in the house. So now I have a question for everybody here. And this will lead to the conversations I will have during the week with you. What's your biggest challenge you have currently right now when it comes to content creation? What is your biggest challenge you are currently facing in your practice right now when it comes to current content creation? So if you could tell me the biggest challenge you're facing, then I'll be able to create content that would help you overcome that challenge. So I'll wait for your answers to that question. So Timei, Vivian, Tolu, Eme, what are the biggest challenges? And I don't know who else is here. Tutu was the first on board today. Or are you perfect when it comes to content creation? Do you have challenges when it comes to content creation? All right, so that is the end of today's training. Any questions, contributions, and like I said, what are the challenges you're facing when it comes to content creation? were here. Grace, I didn't know you were. You guys did not mark register. Okay, please, everybody that is here should let me. Okay, Vivian, you can send me a message, but generically, the most of the people, hey Grace, hi Vivian, hi BC, hi Folakemi. I didn't know you ladies were here. Folakemi has a training after this at 6 p.m. And we should all try our best to attend it. And it's going to be amazing. She's amazing when it comes to vision board and clarity and things like that. So it's awesome to have her. Okay, so having the information is one. The challenge is creating something eye catching. I agree, yes. So sometimes we want to reinvent the wheel, but we can draw inspiration from people. So Timei talked about the fact that um sometimes you have gotten the information you need, but how do you make content that will make people stop scrolling? Because remember when we talked about the anatomy of an Instagram post, we say people see with their eyes, so it has to be visually appealing. How do you make them stop what they are doing and pay attention to what you're saying? And it's simply, I would say, it takes time. 822, it takes time. It takes you studying other pages. I always say try and keep it simple at first, and then you can encourage yourself to expand your creativity. What I do is I study other people's pages. It takes work. So I look at pages I like and I study what they do. I study their colors, I study their font, I study what they put, how they position their content, and what makes me like their page. So I study people's aesthetics. I look at people's websites a lot and I study their positioning to see how their website looks. I go on places like Pinterest. Pinterest is a place where you can get ideas. And sometimes you don't need to recreate the wheel. You just take their inspiration and make it yours. So you remember what I talked about when I said still like an artist? You are not just taking what they are doing and then copying exactly what they do. Sometimes I use templates the way they come, as long as I get my message across. But sometimes I try and tweak it a bit to make it suit me. But sometimes there are also templates that exist that you can actually get on Creative Market that will make you make it easier for you to create content. You can outsource the creation of your templates to someone and say just create templates for me. I'll put the content because I have the content and I can spend 3 hours designing. I no longer have 3 hours. And the best thing you can also do is outsource it to people that also design, that will create your content for you. So you just give them a list of how you want to sound and everything, and they design for you. So there are lots of options that you can have. So creating content that can easily captivate people's attention immediately. Yeah, I know. I'll say, because Amaka, you're doing a great job in Natural Nyota, so you're doing an amazing job. So it's about understanding that you just have to be consistent and believe in yourself. And it's content, and that's the truth. It may work, it may not work. Try it. If it doesn't work, delete it. Don't be too hard on yourself at all. I think sometimes we're too hard on ourselves. We want it to be perfect. We want everything to be. It's not going to be perfect at all. Done is better than perfect. My page did not become this way overnight. I've been trying different things and strategizing before it has gotten to a place that I think I'm comfortable-ish with the way it is. I said ish because I'm not completely comfortable with certain things, but it's also a training ground for me. I experiment with fonts. I experiment with different things that I will eventually end up using for other people's pages. So if you have a page where you can experiment with, then do that. So you're putting content out there and seeing how people are responding to the content. Don't limit yourself. Be expressive. Use your creative style, because as a makeup artist, you're quite creative. So you need to understand that creativity shouldn't be shut down when you are designing. Think about it. If this was someone's face, this is a blank canvas. How do I want it to look? And position the things where you want them to be. Thank you very much. Okay, do I have any more questions? I want to say thank you to everyone. I had no idea all of you were here. So thank you to everyone that joined today. Honestly, it was amazing. I had a good time. I hope I was able to at least give you ideas of what you can post and how you should sound. Because it's not just about posting, it's about having that consistent voice and tone throughout everything that you do. If you want to be shady like Wendy's, be shady like Wendy's. If you want to be like Apple, be like Apple. But study other brands and see what their tone and voice is, and then pick up what you want for your brand. If you have no more questions, I will go. So next week we'll be looking at what to post, ideas for signature content. We've looked at three types of content. Last week we looked at content that has to do with you as an individual, sharing more about you. We've looked at your brand, what you sell, your plug, and then we've also looked at your audience, how creating for your audience can give you content. So next week we're going to even look at more ways you can create signature content and come up with a plan that will help you create much more content. But please, I'll be tagging all of you this week that have marked yourself present to ensure that at least you are posting part of the 9 grade. You don't have to post everything the way it appears, like I said earlier, but you should post. You should post. They are just acting as guides. If you are not going to use any of them on your feed, you can use them in your stories because it just brings engagement and interaction. Or are you left-handed or right-handed? That's a good trend to do on your stories. Do you know any? Do you have any siblings that is left-handed? That's a good trend to do on your story. So there's quite a lot you can do. All right, it's 1 minute past my time. Thank you everyone for joining me today. If we have no more questions, I will call it a day. So we have office hours on Tuesday by 7 p.m. If you have questions, come on Tuesday with your questions and we will answer them. If you join the mailing list with the link email we provide, Timmy, please can you put the link in the comments also? If you join the mailing list with the link that and Timmy will provide, then you will get access to the PDF file and you'll be able to fill it for yourself. But do not hesitate to contact me if you have any questions, and I bid you goodbye. Bye, everyone.